Good morning, children. So, today we are going to discuss some of the questions from page number 53 and questions 1 to 6 from exercises, which is from page number 54 and 55 from the chapter Structure of the Atom. Here is a question. For the symbol H, D, and T, tabulate the three subatomic particles found in each of them. So, what is H, D, and T? So, we know that they are isotopes of hydrogen. What are isotopes? Isotopes are atoms of same element having same atomic number but different mass numbers. So, their number of neutrons will be different in each atom, isn't it? Okay. So, here protium, which is commonly called hydrogen, okay, is having atomic number 1 and mass number 1. Deuterium, atomic number 1, mass number 2. Tritium, atomic number 1 and mass number 3. Remember, isotopes are atoms of same element, right? So, they will have the same atomic number. Then what is the difference? Difference in number of neutrons, okay? So, here in hydrogen or in protium, as atomic number is 1 proton and 1 electron. How many neutrons are there? Mass number minus atomic number, you will get 0. 1 minus 1, 0. In deuterium, atomic number 1, so proton and electron are 1 only. Okay. How many neutrons will be there? 2 minus 1, 1 neutron. Okay. Mass number minus atomic number. Then in tritium, atomic number is 1. Therefore, proton and electrons are 1 only. Then neutrons are 3 minus 1, which is 2. Hope it is clear to you. We'll move to the next question. Write the electronic configuration of any one pair of isotopes and isobars. Okay. So, we know what are isotopes. Isotopes are atoms of same element having same atomic number but with different mass numbers. For example, carbon is having 3 isotopes are there. In textbook, there are only 2 mentioned, carbon 12 and carbon 14. What is this 12 and 14? They are mass numbers. One more is there. See from the picture you can see carbon is having 3 isotopes, carbon 12, carbon 13 and carbon 14. Commonly found isotopes are carbon 12 and carbon 14. Carbon 13 is very rare, okay? That is why it is not given in your textbook. Okay. So, here the electronic configuration of every isotopes of one element will be the same because they are having same atomic number. So, carbon electronic configuration is 2 and 4 because its atomic number is 6. Okay. So, if you write isotopes of carbon 12, 13 or 14, atomic number is same, which is 6. Okay. You can see here 6 protons in all the cases. Number of neutrons are different. Okay. So, isotopes are having the same electronic configuration, remember. And isobars are also there. What are isobars? Isobars are atoms of different elements. Okay. Therefore, their atomic number also will be different. You know that atomic number is unique for each and every element. Okay. Now, isobars example, lot of examples are there. 2 are given here. Neon and sodium, one pair of isobar. Why? Both of them are having same mass number. Okay. So, neon is having atomic number 10, sodium 11. But both of them are having same mass number, which is 22. Similarly, argon and potassium are having atomic numbers 18 and 19, but their mass number is same 40. Even you can write argon and calcium. In the textbook, argon and calcium are given. Both of them are having mass number 40. Okay. Argon, if you write argon and calcium, atomic numbers argon 18 and calcium 20, but their mass numbers are 40. Hope it is clear to you. So, electronic configuration of isobars will be different as their atomic numbers are different. Okay. So, we will move to next one. It is page number 54 to 55. Okay. Question number 1. Compare the properties of electrons, protons and neutrons. Okay. So we can tabulate the properties. Proton is positively charged. Okay. Neutron no charge. Electron is negatively charged. Now what about the mass? Proton approximately 1 U. Neutron is also 1 U. And electrons are having 1 by 2000 U. That means their mass is negligible. Okay. And what about the position of protons, neutrons and electrons? They are located inside the nucleus. Which one? Protons. Neutrons are also located inside the nucleus, isn't it? So together protons and neutrons are called nucleons because they are located inside the nucleus. And where the electrons are located? They are located outside the nucleus and they are revolving around the nucleus in specific shells. Now we will move to question number 2. What are the limitations of J.J. Thomson's model of an atom? This is J.J. Thomson's model. We know that a positively charged sphere is there, okay, and electrons are embedded in that, right? So here, according to J.J. Thomson's model, an atom consists of positively charged sphere with electrons embedded in it. But we know that it is not possible to exist for a negatively charged particle in an oppositely charged sphere. What will happen? These negatively charged particles will get neutralized or it will get discharged, which is not happening, isn't it? That was the limitation of J.J. Thomson's model of an atom. Shall we move to question number 3? Here is question number 3. What are the limitations of Rutherford's model of atom? So we know that according to Rutherford, electrons revolve around the nucleus in circular orbits, isn't it? But when an electron is revolving in circular orbits, what will happen? They will not be stable because during the revolution, what will happen? These electrons will experience acceleration. Okay. So due to this acceleration, the electrons will lose energy and finally they will lose all the energy and they have to fall into the nucleus, which is not happening, isn't it? So if it happens so, what will happen? The atom would be highly unstable and collapse, which is not happening, right? So that was a limitation of Rutherford's model of atom. Okay, we'll move to the next one. Fourth question is describe Bohr's model of atom. So this was the postulates of Niels Bohr model of atom. Okay, so we know that only certain orbits known as discrete orbits of electrons are allowed inside the atom, or electrons are revolving around the nucleus in discrete orbits. While revolving in these discrete orbits, what will happen? The electrons do not radiate energy. That was the main postulates of Bohr's model of atom. So this is the model. We know there at the center there is a nucleus and discrete orbits are named as K, L, M, N, etc. Or we can represent the shells by using the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. Alright. Okay, we'll move to the question number 5. Question number 5 is compare all the proposed models of an atom given in this chapter. So we have 3 models: J.J. Thomson's model, Rutherford's model and Niels Bohr's model, isn't it? Okay, what about Thomson's model? So Thomson's model, we know an atom consists of a positively charged sphere with electrons embedded in it. And Rutherford's model, an atom consists of a positively charged particles concentrated at the center, known as the nucleus. And we know the size of the nucleus is very small as compared to the size of the atom. And the electrons are revolving around the nucleus in circular orbits. That was Rutherford's model. In Bohr's model, compared to Rutherford's model, the term discrete orbits are coming, isn't it? So electrons are revolving around the nucleus in discrete orbits. And of course, while revolving around discrete orbits, electrons do not radiate energy. So Thomson's model and Bohr's model are given in the textbook. You can include the diagram also. And finally, we are moving to the last question of this class. Question number 6. Summarize the rules for writing the distribution of electrons in various shells for the first 18 elements. Okay. So there are 3 rules, isn't it? What is the first rule? the maximum number of electrons that a shell can accommodate can be find out by the formula 2n square, where n is the orbit number. Okay, n can be k, l, m, n, etc. Okay, now for example, in first shell, k shell, n will become 1. So 2 into 1 square, 2 electrons can be accommodated in the first shell. In the second shell, how many electrons can be accommodated? Second shell, n will become 2. So 2 into 2 square, 8 electrons. And in the third orbit, 2 into n square, n will become 3. So 2 into 3 square, 18. And so on, we can calculate. Okay. Rule number 2 is the outermost orbit can be accommodated by a maximum number of 8 electrons. So in an atom, the outermost electrons which can be accommodated is 8 electrons. So that is based on the subshells. Okay. So that you will learn in higher classes. Actually, each shell is divided into subshells again. We are talking about the subshells here. So the outermost orbit means that subshell can be accommodated by a maximum number of 8 electrons. Don't worry about this statement. You will learn about this statement in higher classes more. Okay. We do not want any explanation for this statement. Just understand they are subshells. Okay. Now third one, shells are filled with electrons in a stepwise manner. That is, we cannot occupy the electrons as we want. Okay. We know that the inner shells are filled first, then the outer shells. I mean, first shell first, then second shell, then third shell, etc. It will go on in a stepwise manner. Okay. So today's discussion is over. Only 8 questions are discussed here. Understand the question answers properly. Okay. So we will continue in the coming class the exercises. Thank you and have a nice day.